client of mine who got his first DWI when he was 22 years old. He was pulled over and he was arrested for a DWI. He came into my office after he told me he was arrested, and we went through what happened, and we sat down and we came up with a strategy. He executed the strategy to perfection, and the case was dismissed, and he was able to get an expunction. After we finished the process, he let me know that it would never happen again. Well, a couple of years went by, and I got that phone call. Ira, I've been arrested for a DWI. I said, no problem. Come into my office. Let's take a look at it. I looked at the case. We evaluated it, and I saw that the officer didn't have a reason to detain my client. So we filed a motion to suppress with the case, a motion to suppress with the court, and the court agreed with me and granted the motion to suppress, and all the evidence was thrown out. So that case was dismissed. After going through that process, my client again told me it will never happen again. I said, I hope not. We left the courtroom with his dismissal in hand. Unfortunately, a couple of months went by, and that phone call came again. I said, Ira, it happened again. I got arrested for a DWI. I said, no problem. I'm sorry this happened to you. Come to my office. Let's take a look at it. We reviewed the case, and it looked like the state had him. He was guilty. He had obviously driven while intoxicated. So that what we had to do is come up with a plan to prevent him from getting convicted. He executed the plan to perfection, and I was able to get him into a program called Pretrial Diversion. With Pretrial Diversion, if you successfully complete it, the case will be dismissed and you can get an expunction. Luckily, he did everything he was supposed to do, and his case was dismissed. After he did that and he's got his dismissal in hand, he let me know, Ira, I promise you it'll never happen again. I said, I hope not. And for a few years, he had some luck. Unfortunately, after about 6 or 7 years, he got pulled over. He said, I got the phone call again. Ira, it happened again. I got arrested for DWI. I said, I'm sorry that happened to you. Now, that was, if you were paying attention, you would see that he is arrested for DWI on 4 separate occasions. Except for the first 3 DWIs were dismissed. Therefore, he had 0 convictions, and that 4th arrest was a Class B misdemeanor only. As opposed to if we had handled the cases differently and just pled out the cases to the first available deal, that would have been his 4th DWI conviction and his 2nd felony conviction, and unfortunately he would probably have been looking at going to prison. But because of how we handled the first 3, that 4th DWI arrest was only a misdemeanor. I'm sure if you're watching this video and you're thinking, hey, that person was really young when they got their first DWI. He was only 22, and maybe you're a little older. That brings me to my second story I'd like to share with you. I had a client, she got her first DWI at the age of 60. Now, you would almost expect that someone who's gained their first DWI at 60, that she would never get arrested again. She came into my office with that DWI. We're able to get her a deal where if she did what she was supposed to do, the case would be dismissed, and she'd qualify for an expunction. Luckily, she did what she was supposed to do, and she qualified for that expunction. When she was done with the process, she told me, Ira, you'll never see me again. I hope not. Unfortunately, a couple of years went by, and the phone rang. There she was calling me at the age of 63, again being arrested for DWI. Luckily, we're able to get her because we got the first one dismissed and we got her an expunction. The state wasn't aware of that. Therefore, we were able to get her a deal in which, again, she'd be able to get a dismissal if she did what she was supposed to do. Luckily, she did what she was supposed to do, and the case was dismissed, and she got the expunction. A couple of years went by, and again, she called me up. She said, Ira, it happened again. This time she was 66 years old, already retired, when she picked up her 3rd DWI arrest. I said, I'm sorry this happened to you. I said, come into my office so we can talk about your case. She came into my office and we sat down and we came up with a plan to, again, get her into pretrial diversion. This is why this was now her 3rd arrest, but this is why it's so important that we handle the first arrests the way we do. Because if we didn't handle first two arrests the way we did, she would now be looking at a felony. Luckily, she was only looking at a misdemeanor. And again, we were able to convince the prosecutor to give her a program, get her into pretrial diversion to prevent a conviction on her case. We got her into pretrial diversion. She did what she was supposed to do. Her case was dismissed, and she got an expunction. I'd like to say that was the last time I heard from her. Unfortunately, even 2 or 3 years after that, she was arrested again for a DWI at the age of 72. But because of how we handled the first three, this one was again a misdemeanor DWI. And so instead of facing felony consequences, because it was now her fourth DWI arrest with 3 convictions, it was now her first DWI because her first 3 were dismissed. Therefore, the way you handle a DWI case from the beginning, in the very beginning, is very important. Never think it's just my first DWI. I'll just take the first deal. That's not the way to go because we can't predict the future and we have to do everything we can to protect it. So if you've been arrested for a DWI and you'd like to further discuss your case with me, call my office at 361-200-0013 to schedule your initial strategy session.